Thank you so much, um, Dr. Shekhar, for all the nice words, and Policy Times for inviting me to this wonderful discussion and esteemed panel. The first thing I would like to say is if there are more people like Dr. Shekhar who has such respect and nice words to say about women who work, I think we wouldn't need these discussions. Thank you, Dr. Shekhar, again. My specialty, or where I come from, is with women craftspeople and artisans. Women artisans have been the most vulnerable group in India, be it social, cultural, or economic perspective. In spite of women having multiple roles in the family and society at large, threading in the existential elements keeping human beings together, women as a class are not financially stable. They are disallowed to demonstrate their skill sets and contribute to growth and development of society. My focus is on these women, women who belong to such backgrounds or such clusters where they are very vulnerable. I will largely address the difficulties this group of women artisans and craftspeople experienced during COVID and continue to experience or will continue during post COVID situations. First of all, I would like to share my thoughts. What is broken? What has changed with the emergence of COVID 19? Well, from my perspective, social, economic, and cultural. Now, these three main pillars of human existence have undergone tectonic shifts. And the worst thing is they have been disproportionate. There's a lot of incorrect information and correct information floating around over COVID. The incorrect information makes you panic. Even educated people, like all of us, do get swayed by the WhatsApp universities. We do start drinking and eating to be healthier, and then you pause and you say, hey, wait, I got a new WhatsApp today. So, this information which is being decimated to us, there is no information which is going out to this group of artisans, women artisans, on how to adjust to the changing scenario, how to adjust to the situations. There's hardly any advice available on the livelihood side of human existence. Money, economics is a reality to life. When you combine these three elements, you realize that there is a shift in the social, economic, and cultural milieu of the society. I, as a woman artisan, craftsperson, and change maker, I empathize with all my lot because being educated gives me a little less reason to panic and more reason to find resources. With my domain expertise in art and culture, I understand the difficulties that my fellow craftswomen are going through. As an advisor with TriFit, which is the marketing branch of the tribal ministry, we realized that tribal women have had such a terrible few months, and it seems to be never ending when you start talking to them. Through today's talk, I would like to convey the need and the solutions to how they can adjust to the new normal. So I am absolutely focusing on just my segment where I have 200 artists who work with me. Every project that I have taken in last 20 years, I would like you to know that 40% have been women artisans. It hasn't been easy because women work, but the money would go to the husbands. And in 70% times, it would be drunk up in 2 days and poverty would strike again. So we started with opening accounts, getting them registered with the textile ministry and the art and culture ministry. And now the figure has moved over 200 people. But that is just a drop in the ocean. So, on the micro side, due to the downturn of fortunes of this extremely vulnerable group of women, there is profound impact on national growth. When I talk about national growth to people, I was laughed at once, I must tell you, because they said national growth with women artisans. Well, people might not agree with me, but let me ask, how do you define national growth? Is national growth only in terms of economic well being, or does it also take into account social and cultural happiness? Does it only include large businesses, or does it look into the existential threats for these self employed women? It is a well known fact and well accepted argument that when a woman earns money, she spends it largely on the family and society. All of us women here who are working or have worked, it's true for us too. Therefore, it becomes extremely important to put money in the hands of these mothers, sisters, and women artisans. COVID 19 has brought with it disruption in national growth. Such disruptions have surfaced not only in the field of economy, they have also surfaced in social and cultural exchanges. I've always believed that probably only mechanical robots can live in a society where social, cultural aspects mean nothing. Human beings need to imbibe, they need to interact, and they need the elixir of a social, cultural concoction. This is important, imperative, and our culture is embedded in just this. So now that I have outlined the problems I see of COVID 19, let me dwell upon the solutions. Every problem comes with its own solution. Like Sunita ji said very truly, that yes, COVID has made us pause. COVID has made us believe what is actually important to all of us. But for this segment of people, the first remedy that I can think of is to provide correct information through a medium which is acceptable to these women artisans. The target group is mainly moderately literate to illiterate. However, they are ones, they are very aware of their immediate environments. We need to use the right amount of the right type of communication. Electronic information dissemination doesn't seem to be working there. We need to talk about new incentives which are coming out from the government. The government is doing its bit, be it the central government or the state government. But more importantly, how will they avail of these incentives? Most of the time, people talk about what is available, but do they know how to use it? We definitely need to go about busting myths, bridging the information gap, the communication gap between what is and where it can be employed by, who can use it, what are the facilities that a person can avail. Many times it is middlemen. In my experience of 18 years, I have seen artists would be paid 10% only of the total sum of the work order. The middleman ate all the rest. It was a pathetic situation. Now, with the artist being directly connected to the government, they get the entire amount. When I take a project in Pravasi Bharatiya Kendra, which is now the Sushma Swaraj Bhavan, I would like to give you an example. We showed the work order, we put in 200 artists and created the building in 45 days. It could only happen because the artists realized here, they saw the work order, we took 5% from money from that, gave the rest to them. So they realized they would make more money than they ever made. Similarly, they need to know where to go for their livelihood. What are the incentives that they need to get? Now, a very small thing I would like to say here is our Honorable Prime Minister's Man Ki Baat. So many in the rural areas hear that. Just after or before his Man Ki Baat, we could use that time to give information about whatever areas that need to be targeted with women. If we give this, at least the women will hear The men will hear, and we would have decimated information in a very nice way. And why not use WhatsApp? Why not use these radios? And here I would also like to say that the Policy Times, which is an emerging media, can also contribute wherever they have an outreach, whichever community they have. They could spread the word, find the incentives, find every government, every state government we found, like for the tribals, is giving huge incentives. People just don't know about them. So that is the step one. On the social cultural aspect, we need to evolve a process to collectively express social and cultural thoughts. Zoom is fine for people who understand the ways of the world of internet. Like somebody once said recently, "Oh, you don't need the internet for Zoom." I mean, if educated people too, sometimes we get kind of boxed in by the net, by the present technology. What about these uneducated people? So they need definitely to practice, to get together, keeping the COVID requirements in mind, to start the socio-cultural fabric to come together. Train them with new technologies. We can't just force them to use new technologies. It's very frustrating if a person doesn't know computers to say, oh, you can sit and learn long distance about new skills. They need to be trained on how to use these new skills. So that was the second thing which I really feel we can do as people, as NGOs, as the government. And the third, the target group I'm talking about is not very accommodative of fast paced changes. They work with their hands traditionally and historically. So the government, the society, and the overall corporate world needs to focus on advising suitable economic stimuli for them, which would mean understanding their work, their culture, and where they are coming from. So this would require an interface which is knowledgeable, somebody who has worked in those areas, like Megha Pansarkar ji was saying, we work with artisans, we make packages. Lots such people should be put on and used, their skills used before policy making to help these people. Then there is this corporate social responsibility funding in order to provide better visibility to the concerned companies, but also to provide sustainable growth to the people we are targeting. I would like to say that these companies can adopt groups of people and help these artisans and craft people survive. When it comes to societal intervention, it may be a good idea to prioritize such societies. You would be appalled to know that when we were doing a study, we realized that we have these small hearts, which are temples, which you can carry all around the world, migrant temples with stories of the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, and all the stories of our culture. There is only one family that does it. Earlier, it was done by the whole village. And that is what is happening to women artisans. Madhubani is getting diluted totally because there are just these 4 or 5 people doing it. So unless we promote women's crafts, why I emphasize on women craft persons is because women nurture children. So while they are nurturing, they gently pass those art forms to the next generations. My last point, I'm going about very point wise on what individuals and government can do in post COVID situations for my target people who I work with is new economic opportunities. Can we look at creating new kinds of practices? Like what we are doing with TriFit is we are trying to innovate marketing of tribal art. We are trying to have availability of easy credit, changing the realities of post-COVID world and translating them into a language which is understood. Why is WhatsApp so popular? Because it helps you communicate in whichever language you understand. Similarly, for craftsmen, for artisans, we have to communicate in that language. The three things which are very important to reach out to them is the medium of communication, the mode of communication, and the content of communication. And that can only be done if it is packaged in a way that they are not hostile, but it is easily understood by the stakeholders. Once again, for this kind of job, it would be a great idea to get in domain experts, people who have been there, who have done it, and maybe have even retired. Everybody wants to give to the community. Tap the people with expertise. If you tap, say, 100, I'm positive there will be 20 who will be willing to give their time to the goodness of society. Considering all this, I truly believe, from my experience, that in India, there is a myth that people feel we Indians don't look at mentoring or we Indians don't give. It's a myth. There are people who are giving, there are people who are doing a lot. If we get to our segments, what is important to us, and we look at helping, I think change makers or change managers, as I call myself, have a long way to go because women naturally have empathy and women respond to other women. So, post COVID, I think it will definitely help if we take these few steps forward. Thank you so much, Dr. Shekhar. I hope I was able to put forward my views